My name is Cara Morris, and I used to believe that if you worked hard, treated people well, and stayed consistent, the right people would notice. I wasn't chasing promotions or applause. I just wanted to matter, wanted to feel like the effort I put in actually meant something. But I learned the hard way that not everyone sees value the same way. And some people, they'll do whatever it takes to make sure your light doesn't shine brighter than theirs. I started at Centercraft Analytics as a client relations analyst. A quiet title, no corner office, no one waiting on my word. Most people thought the job was about logging interactions and managing calendars, which honestly wasn't far off from how my supervisor, Lisa Graff, saw it. To her, I was just one more person in a long email chain. Replaceable. Background noise. But I saw it differently. Clients weren't just spreadsheets or renewal dates. They were people juggling deadlines, problems, families. They didn't want auto-replies and copy-paste scripts. They wanted to know someone was actually listening. Lisa didn't get that. She ran the department like it was a factory. Everything was tracked, optimized, timed to the second. She loved color-coded dashboards and keyword efficiency. If a client called twice in a week, she saw that as a red flag. I saw it as a relationship worth deepening. We clashed silently for months. She never said anything directly, but I could feel it in the way she stiffened when I got mentioned in team meetings. She didn't like that clients asked for me. She didn't like that people were noticing I was doing something different. And it was working. I never broke any rules. I still filled out the logs, replied on time, hit every target. But I went further. I remembered birthdays. I asked about kids, surgeries, travel. I checked in when I didn't have to. I kept a handwritten notebook full of details. Small things that helped me make real connections. Little by little, it started to show. Renewals ticked upward. Clients who'd been cold suddenly became warm. A few even reached out to the executive team to say they felt truly supported, for the first time. Then came the meeting that changed everything. It was a monthly strategy session, and one of the senior VPs pulled up a slide showing client satisfaction scores. Our department had the highest rating by far. Cara's work has been instrumental, he said. Whatever she's doing, keep doing it. The room applauded. Lisa smiled with her mouth but not her eyes. The next day she asked to see me. I'd like you to document your full process, she said, in that stiff tone she used when she was pretending it was a suggestion. Emails, calls, notes. Everything you've done with your top accounts over the last year. We're considering standardizing your method. I should have known something was off, but I told myself it was a good sign, that she was finally willing to learn from me. So I got to work. 3 weeks. 53 pages. I built timelines, tracked revenue impact, outlined personal touches that led to stronger client bonds. I compared it to our usual scripted model. The numbers spoke for themselves. Over $200,000 in extra business directly tied to relationship-based outreach. I submitted it on a Friday. Lisa didn't say a word. Monday morning there was a department-wide meeting. Nothing unusual, until she connected her laptop to the big screen. We're reviewing Cara's audit today, she said flatly. It'll serve as a case study. I sat up straighter. Nervous but hopeful. Maybe this was it. She opened the file. My report. My work. This, she began, is what inefficiency looks like. My heart stopped. She clicked through slides rapidly, pausing only to mock specific parts. Followed up after client's dog had surgery, she read aloud. This isn't a friendship club. A few people chuckled uneasily. She spent dozens of hours on these interactions. Not scalable. Not productive. I felt heat rise in my face. I looked around but no one said anything. Then she highlighted the whole document and hit delete. There, she said. Now we can start with something practical. She looked so proud. Like she'd cleaned up a mess. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. Then my phone buzzed in my lap. A number I didn't recognize. I excused myself from the room, stepped into the hallway, and answered. Hi, is this Cara Morris? Yes, who's this? This is Elena from Westbrook Partners. We've been following your work and would love to talk. We're launching a new client success division, and we need someone like you. Our budget's flexible, but we're talking high six figures. Would you be open to a conversation? My brain spun. You have incredible timing, I said. She laughed. So I've been told. I hung up. stared at the closed door to the conference room, and suddenly everything clicked. I walked back in. Lisa was mid-sentence, gesturing at the whiteboard like she'd won something. Actually, I said, loud enough for the whole room, I won't be rebuilding anything. She blinked. Excuse me. I'm resigning, I said. Effective immediately. The room went dead silent. And for the record, I added, that file you deleted? I backed it up. Not because I didn't trust you, but because I know exactly how this company operates. Then I turned and walked out. No more games. No more smiling through dismissal. And just like that, my new life began. I walked out of that building lighter than I'd felt in years. Not because I had a plan. Not because I'd been waiting for this moment. But because for the first time in a long time I wasn't pretending anymore. The sidewalk outside was still damp from an earlier rain. My bag was heavier than I remembered. It always was when I carried the weight of things unsaid. But this time that weight was gone. I didn't go home right away. I found a coffee shop a few blocks away, ordered something hot, and sat near the window. I stared at the little drops sliding down the glass, and for the first time in weeks, I let my mind go quiet. Then I opened my inbox. Sure enough, there was already a follow-up email from Elena at Westbrook Partners. She had included a time for a video call and a list of initial materials. No fluff. No games. Just, we're excited about what you bring. I took a deep breath and replied with one line. Looking forward to talking tomorrow. Then I closed the laptop and just sat there. Not hustling. Not fixing. Just being. The next day, the call was sharp, direct, and respectful. Elena introduced me to two other leaders from their firm, Darren and Tammy. They asked thoughtful questions, listened carefully when I spoke, and didn't once interrupt each other. It was strange in the best way. They didn't want me to bring over data. They didn't ask for company secrets. They didn't even want names. We're not looking to steal, Elena said. We're looking to build something better. And that's what sealed it. I said yes. Within a week, I had a contract in hand. The title, Head of Client Experience Strategy. The salary, more than double what I made at Cinecraft. The freedom, total. I moved into a small, bright office in a shared building downtown. No fluorescent lights. No framed corporate posters. Just a window, a clean desk, and my own name on the door. Cara Morris. No parentheses. No manager hanging over my shoulder. My job was simple, build a better way to serve clients. So I did. I hired a small team. People who had felt overlooked, passed up, or boxed in by big companies. We built systems that allowed for real conversations. We sent thank you notes not because we had to, but because they were earned. We remembered what mattered. And in return, our clients stayed longer, spent more, and actually looked forward to working with us. But what I didn't expect, what caught me completely off guard, was how many of them found me first. The first email came from Vernon, a longtime client from Cinecraft. Cara, I heard you've moved on. If you're open to a chat, I'd love to follow. I hadn't contacted him. I hadn't said a word. Then another. And another. Within a month, 7 of my former accounts had quietly reached out. They didn't want to discuss numbers or terms. They just wanted to work with someone they trusted. I never pushed. I never sold. They moved on their own. And Cinecraft noticed. How could they not? Their top-tier clients were disappearing one by one. Not in loud, dramatic exits, but in polite, firm farewells. The kind that sting the most. One afternoon, I got a text from a former coworker, Jonah, someone I always liked. Lisa's losing it. Half your accounts bailed. She's blaming you. I didn't respond right away. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. I never reached out to anyone. They chose. He replied with a single emoji, face without mouth. Then a week later something else happened. Claire, a junior team lead I'd mentored at Cinecraft, called me out of the blue. Can I just say, she said, barely waiting for hello, that what you did? That was legendary. I laughed, even though I didn't really feel like I had done anything that bold. She tried to erase you, Claire continued. But the moment she deleted your file, people started asking what else she was hiding. Turns out Lisa had been under review for months. Complaints had piled up quietly about her rigid style, her micromanagement, her unwillingness to adapt. But no one had enough leverage to push anything forward. Until my clients walked out the door. Your exit cracked something open, Claire said. Now it's unraveling. And it kept unraveling. One by one I began hearing from more people at Centercraft. Not gossiping. Not venting. Just quietly confirming what I already knew. They'd built a system that crushed what made people valuable. And now that system was breaking. I didn't cheer. I didn't post about it. I didn't share cryptic memes on social media. I just kept doing my job. Because while they were panicking, I was building. While they were tightening their grip, I was opening doors. A month later, I sat in a meeting with the Westbrook leadership team and pulled up a simple slide. 12 client logos. All from my first 3 months. Elena blinked. You brought them over? No, I said. They came. The room went quiet. Not in shock. In respect. We'll need to expand your team, Darren said, already scribbling notes. And just like that, the thing I'd been dismissed for was now the thing they wanted more of. I didn't need to say it. They saw it. And that was enough. A few months into my new role, I got used to the feeling of peace. Not comfort exactly. I was working harder than ever. But peace in knowing I wasn't constantly defending my worth. I no longer braced myself before meetings. I didn't overthink every word I said. I didn't shrink my ideas before offering them up. That constant tension that had been wrapped around my shoulders for years at Centercraft? It was gone. But apparently back at my old company things were coming apart. At first it came in whispers. Jonah would send the occasional text. 3 more clients gone. Leadership's asking why retention tanked this quarter. Lisa pulled in all hands and blamed the economy. Then came the real cracks. A memo from Centercraft's executive team leaked online, brief but telling. It acknowledged unexpected revenue attrition, shifts in client loyalty, and internal evaluations of leadership structure. That's corporate speak for, our best clients are leaving and we're panicking. I didn't share it. I didn't need to. Others did that for me. By the end of the month, 3 more clients had come over. Not ones I'd worked with directly, but ones who'd heard what we were building. They didn't care about old loyalty. They cared about results. And relationships. It wasn't revenge. It was gravity. The more grounded we became in honesty, consistency, and care, the more everything else around us began to wobble. One afternoon, Elena walked into my office with a folded piece of paper. From HR, she said, handing it over. Thought you should see this. It was a copy of an application Centercraft had sent to Westbrook. They were trying to poach one of our junior analysts. And attached to the email, unbelievably, was a question. Would Cara Morris be open to returning in a leadership capacity? I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my tea. They seriously think I'd go back? Elena smirked. They're drowning, Cara. When people panic, they forget what they did to you. They only see what they need. The irony was sharp. The same people who erased my work were now hoping I'd come rebuild theirs. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Instead, I forwarded the message to my personal archive and went back to planning our next campaign. But that wasn't the end of it. 2 weeks later, Jonah called. I hadn't heard his voice in months. He sounded tired. She's gone, he said. Who? Lisa. Let go last Friday. No public announcement. Just cleaned out her office and disappeared. I waited for the surge of satisfaction. It didn't come in the way I expected. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't some epic feeling of triumph. It was quieter. Like an old bruise finally stopping its ache. What happened? I asked. She couldn't hold it together. Kept blaming everyone but herself. Pushed out half the team trying to fix things. It just made everything worse. I thought back to that day she deleted my report. The look on her face. The pride. The certainty. She thought she'd won something. Now, her name was no longer on their website. Jonah went on. People still talk about you, you know. The clients that followed you. The way you handled everything. It gave a lot of us permission to rethink what we were tolerating. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just said, thank you. After we hung up, I sat alone in my office for a long while. I remembered all the times I'd questioned myself. Was I being too emotional? Was I overinvesting? Was I wrong for caring too much? And now here I was, leading a division that had tripled its value in under a year, mentoring people who were doing the best work of their careers, and watching the industry quietly shift toward the model I'd once been told was useless. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. But it was real. And that's what made it feel so powerful. I got an email later that day from a competitor, not Cinecraft, a different firm entirely. "We've been watching your work," it read. "Your retention model is reshaping the standard. We'd love to collaborate." I forwarded it to Elena with one line. "Funny how people suddenly love emotional labor when it works." She replied within seconds. "You didn't just change clients, Kara. You're changing the culture." I didn't reply right away. I sat back, looked around my office, sunlight pouring in, whiteboard filled with ideas, a stack of thank you cards on my shelf, and just took it in. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was legacy. It was a little over a year to the day since I walked out of that conference room, since I watched Lisa delete my report like it was a virus in her perfect system. A year since I got that phone call from Elena that changed everything. A lot can happen in a year. We had just closed out our biggest quarter yet at Westbrook Partners. Not just in numbers, which were solid across the board, but in what actually mattered to me. Client retention was the highest in company history. Our department had grown from 3 people to 16. And not once had I been asked to scale back my style or tone down the human side of my work. If anything, I was asked to teach it. Every new hire shadowed me for 2 weeks. Not because I had some grand curriculum, but because people learn best by seeing it done with care. I didn't give them scripts. I gave them trust. And they paid it back in full. I was in the middle of writing a training memo when Elena knocked on my door again. "Got a minute?" "Always." She handed me a manila envelope and sat down across from me. I raised an eyebrow. "What is this?" She smiled. "A job offer." I opened it. Westbrook was offering me a promotion. Senior partner. Equity. Complete autonomy over the entire client experience division. I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at the page. Not because I was shocked, but because I wasn't. For the first time in my career, I was being recognized not for surviving but for leading. "You've earned this," Elena said. "You didn't just build something profitable. You built something people believe in." I signed the offer that afternoon. No speeches. No big celebration. Just a deep, solid peace. That evening as I walked home, I passed a bookstore and saw something that made me stop cold. There, on the community bulletin board, was a flyer for a local business panel. Rethinking Retention, Human-Centered Strategy in Client Relations. Listed among the speakers, Darren Owens from Westbrook and Claire Lynn from Cinecraft. Claire, the junior lead I'd once mentored. I smiled. They were finally learning. Not from me exactly, but from the ripple effect. The next morning, I got a message on LinkedIn from someone I didn't recognize. A woman named Priya. She worked at a mid-size firm across the country. She wrote, "I've followed your work ever since I saw a thread about your story. I just wanted you to know, I brought one of your ideas into my team meeting today. They listened. For the first time in months, they really listened." I wrote back, "That means more than you know." Because that's what stayed with me most. Not the downfall of Lisa. Not the fall of Cinecraft, which, for the record, eventually merged with a competitor to survive. Not the offers. Not the titles. It was the shift. The quiet shift in how people talk to each other. The way companies started asking different questions. The way my team now asks not, "How fast can we fix this?" but, "How do we make this person feel understood?" That's not something you put on a resume. But it's what lasts. A few weeks later, I walked into our office early. Sunlight still slanting through the blinds. The city not quite awake yet. I poured coffee, checked messages, and opened the drawer where I kept the only physical copy of the original 53-page report. The one Lisa deleted. The one she called wasted motion. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I just ran my hand across the cover, smiled, and closed the drawer again. It had done its job. I had done mine. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was proving anything. I was simply where I belonged. At peace. In charge. And still always listening.